Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 26 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. How are you all doing today? How are you all doing this week? I hope you're doing well, and if not, I hope that this show provides a brief respite from whatever you're going through in life. I I got a big show for you guys this week. I'm gonna go to the movies a little bit. Uh, so I'm very excited for that. I'm looking forward to that. So before I get started this week, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and spread the word and tell your friends. Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, with that out of the way, let's get started today, and I'm going to get started with this. So, there has been uh, uh, quite a bit of casting news regarding the upcoming. There's going to be another live action Street Fighter movie, which hopefully will be better than the one with Jean Claude Van Damme. You know what's funny? I actually didn't hate uh, the 1994 film with Jean Claude Van Damme as and oh, who played M Bison? Um, um, uh, in it's gonna bug me. Uh, oh yeah, Raul Julia. Yeah. It kind of sucks that that was his last movie. I mean, I didn't hate that movie. I mean, I kind of liked it, you know? Not very much, but I liked it. So anyway, there's going to be another live action Street Fighter movie, and we've got quite a bit of casting news regarding that. So this article uh, is on Deadline, published by Matt Grobar. And this article says that Callina Lang, star of Steven Soderbergh's recent supernatural thriller Presence, has landed the female lead role of Chun-Li in Legendary Studios' live-action Street Fighter movie based on the video game from Capcom, sources tell Deadline. So, there's not much. The only thing that I can offer about this is, and I'm going to talk about some more casting news uh, here in a little bit regarding that movie. Regarding this movie, the only thing I can offer is that, in regards to some of this casting news, is that in some cases, um, I am not too familiar with uh, the actors that have been cast. I will say that this supernatural thriller Presence that this article mentions from director Steven Soderbergh. First of all, I love Steven Soderbergh as a director. I have heard great things about that movie. I unfortunately was not able to see it in the theater, but I have heard great things about it. And obviously, um, so I'm not too familiar with Kalina Liang. However, I am excited that this movie has started casting. Um, and the casting for this movie, and which I'm going to get to in a second, is flat out bonkers. So I I'm looking forward to this. Now, there also is regarding more casting regarding this movie, let's see here. Let's see. I want to... Excuse me just a second. Excuse me. I love when they come out of nowhere like that. So, this article is on The Hollywood Reporter. Hold on, I'm kind of flustered today. Okay, so this article is on The Hollywood Reporter. Published by Boris Kitt. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and Jason Momoa. I believe a while back Noah Centineo was cast. But the more recent casting news is that Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and Jason Momoa have been cast in this Street Fighter movie. So, Jason Momoa is going to play Blanca. Now, I have to say, that bit of casting news is so insane that it just might work. I like Jason Momoa. I like him quite a bit. I mean, he's kind of I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites, but I think over the past several years I've started to become a big fan of him. So Jason Momoa as Blanca. That I can see that. I think that's just crazy enough to work. Now, let me see here. Who is... Okay. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson will play Balrog, the boxer who is also the bodyguard of M. Bison. That might work too. I mean, yeah, I guess we will see what 50 Cent's boxing skills are like in this movie. But yeah, so Curtis 50 Cent Jackson will play Balrog. I'm excited about Jason Momoa playing Blanca, to be honest with you. So there's that. Now, there's one more. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay. This article is on Deadline, published by Matt Grovar. This one's actually kind of interesting. David Dastmalchian will play M. Bison in the Street Fighter movie. Now, I like David Dastmalchian. He was in The Life of Chuck. And he was in the horror film Late Night with the Devil. So for those who don't know, M. Bison is the villain of Street Fighter, the video game. So David Dastmalchian, I really like him. He was one of the he played one of the company men in so in the Ant-Man movies, he played one of Louise's he played one of the company men that, like, the character of Louise was starting this upstart technology company, and David Dastmalchian played one of one of the people who worked in that company. You know, he was the one that was kind of going off about the Baba Yaga, you know. And he was also, and he was great. He played Polka Dot Man in the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie. The one with John Cena and the one that had Starro the Conqueror as the villain. And David Dastmalchian was great in the little bit that he was in that movie. So him playing M. Bison, all right, I could get behind that. This cast is wild. I have to say, this cast is crazy. I could, I just can't get past. For, you know, I think if David Dastmalchian bulked up a little bit, I mean, I could see him playing a serviceable M. Bison. You know, and I can't get past, like, Jason Momoa as Blanca. That's just going to be wild. So, yeah. This is quite a diverse cast here going for this movie. And I guess we will see how it turns out. Certainly, I'm not going to say the cast is better. Well, maybe it will be. I don't know. It's certainly wild enough to work. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on an upcoming Street Fighter movie? What do you think of this cast? You know, something's going on here. What do you think about it? Let me know. This is wild. Speaking of wild, you know, again, one of the things that I promised not to do in regards to this show is turn it into some kind of TMZ kind of entertainment thing. However, sometimes things happen in the industry that may cause us to look at certain people in the industry differently, and may or may not cause us to contribute to seeing their work. And one such thing has happened. Now, so Martin Kove, who was on the Karate Kid, who was in Karate Kid, and he was on the TV, the Cobra Kai. He has been accused of biting his co-star Alicia Hannah-Kim at a fan convention. This article is on Variety, published by Clayton Davis and Jack Dunn. And this article says, Karate Kid actor and Cobra Kai TV star Martin Kove was asked to leave a fan convention over the weekend. This was I want to make sure I get this right. So this was not. This article was published on June 23rd. So when it says over the weekend, I want to make sure I want to give you guys a time period of when this happened. So this was not. This was a couple weeks ago. So was asked to leave a fan convention over the weekend after allegedly biting co-star Alicia Hannah-Kim during a VIP meet and greet, according to a report from the Puyallup Police Department obtained by Variety. The alleged incident occurred Sunday at SummerCon. So I'm guessing that was Sunday the 22nd, June 22nd. Occurred Sunday at SummerCon in Puyallup, Washington, where Kove and Hannah-Kim, both of whom appear in the Netflix series Cobra Kai, were participating in programming and fan activities. Reps for Kove did not immediately respond to Variety's request for comment. Netflix also did not immediately respond to Variety's request for comment. This article goes on to say that according to the report, Hannah-Kim told an officer working the VIP section that after tapping Kove on the shoulder to say hello, he suddenly grabbed her arm and bit her, quote, so hard he nearly drew blood, unquote. The report states that when she cried out in pain, Kove allegedly started kissing her arm where he had bitten her. The report detailed that Hannah-Kim then told her husband, who was present at the event, and the pair went to confront Kove about the incident. And stuff. More. There was a confrontation and stuff like that. Now, Martin Kove has issued an apology. This article is on this article comes from the Hollywood Reporter, published by McKinley Franklin. Martin Kove did make an official apology. I deeply regret and apologize for my actions regarding the incident with Alicia Hannah-Kim, a genuinely kind and wonderful person who didn't deserve to be put in this position. So he has issued an apology. Now, unfortunately, there has been even more accusations directed at Martin Kove. So this biting incident that occurred at this convention, unfortunately, has not been the first time Martin Kove has been accused of misconduct. So, in April of 2024, and this accusation is coming to light now, but this happened. This accusation. The accusation is coming forward now, and the accusation refers to an incident that happened in April of 2024 on the set of Cobra Kai, and it's a sexual harassment accusation, and so basically what happened was that an extra on the show accused Martin Kove of sexual harassment, and Martin Kove has issued a statement regarding that, and he says it wasn't true then and it isn't true now. So there's all this crap coming out about Martin Kove. Now look, in specifically in regards to the biting incident. Okay, it happened and he issued an apology. Okay. You issued an apology. I personally specifically in regards to the biting incident. This happened. You issued an apology. Fine. Cool. Let's move on. But the sexual harassment thing, like, it isn't like, and again, I don't like to harp on this, but I understand that there are two sides to every story. He says it wasn't true then and it's not true now. Okay, fine. But and again, no one knows what really happened except the people that were there. And I understand there are two sides to every story, but I also believe, again, that every accusation, every allegation needs to be taken seriously. It'll be tough to go back and watch, Karate Kid, Cobra Kai. It'll be tough to go back and watch that now. And unfortunately, this could have an impact on his career. So I just wanted to touch on this and say a few things about this. I don't know that I personally could watch anything in the future starring him, but that's just my personal view. This changes things for him, and unfortunately, people will see him in a different light. But if you're accused of something like this, maybe people should look at you differently. Who's to say? So, anyway, I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. So let's move on to something more pleasant. So a few weeks ago, I talked about this period epic that titled The Wait, that's going to star Ethan Hawke and Russell Crowe. It's about this smuggling gold across the wilderness to save his family, and the Ethan Hawke will play the veteran, and there's been a bit more casting news regarding that. So this article is on Deadline, published by Anthony D'Alessandro. This article says, the period epic The Wait has added Dexter New Blood and Twilight franchise actress Julia Jones. Now this period epic is going to be set in 1930s Oregon, during the height of the Great Depression. So Julia Jones, I'm not too familiar with her. I mean, she was in The Mandalorian, the Disney Plus Star Wars series. Other than that, I'm not too familiar with her. Look, I always say that the more casting news regarding a project means that it's going to be it's going to start filming soon, and I'm excited about this. Look, I love Russell Crowe. I really like Ethan Hawke, and this project sounds really, really interesting to me, and I think it could be really good. I will have more to I'll have more to say about it once more details emerge about it. But for right now, I'm just excited that we're getting more casting news. So, jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys' thoughts are about this movie titled The Wait. So this next bit of news is interesting, and I say interesting because I'm not sure if it will. Well, let me just dive right into it here. So, there's going to be another Stephen King film, book to film adaptation. And I am not. I know this sounds weird because I'm such a huge horror fanatic or horror enthusiast. I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan. Like I'm aware of his legacy. I'm aware that he's one of the greatest authors ever. I'm not, when it comes to his, there are a few books that I own of his, and a few that I will own in the future. But I never got into Stephen King, except for The Stand. Now I have I have the uncut version of The Stand, the paperback novel, which is like 1,100 pages. It's insane. There's going to be a film adaptation of The Stand. Now, this article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Boris Kitt. Doug Liman is going to direct a film adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand. Now, The Stand is, I think, it's considered Stephen King's magnum opus, like it's his greatest work, and I intend to read the book before. I should say I intend to read the book again before I see this film. So what's interesting about this? So Doug Liman is going to direct a feature film version of The Stand. Now, Doug Liman, his filmography as a director is kind of hit and miss. He directed American Made with starring Tom Cruise. Let me see here. He also directed Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, which is awesome. And American Made is really good too. But Edge of Tomorrow is awesome. He directed Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He directed Jumper, The Bourne Identity, which is great, Swingers. So his filmography is kind of hit and miss, at least in my opinion. Okay, so in terms of doing a film adaptation of The Stand, so there was a TV miniseries of The Stand in the 90s. And it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. And then um, there was another uh, adaptation. So there was the miniseries in 1994, and that was really good. That was really good. And then um, yeah, that the miniseries in the 90s was pretty solid. And then there was the miniseries in 2019, 2020, and that wasn't so good. So in terms of adaptations of the book The Stand, it's I would say it's a mixed bag. The one in the 90s is pretty solid. Again. Um, so a feature film adaptation, to me is interesting and maybe a little concerning because look, the book is, first of all, it's Stephen King's longest work. Um, I don't know if I put my filmmaker cap on, there's two ways you could do this as a feature film. Either you you could do it as, because I don't know how you could adapt an 1,100 page book into one movie unless you do it as this 3 hour, maybe 3.5 hour epic. Maybe that could work. Either that, or you do it in, you do two, like The Stand Part 1 and Part 2, like they did with the film adaptation of the first Dune novel. You just split the book in half. I don't know how they would do that, but it's interesting. I guess it's concerning. Because um, yeah, sorry, I'm all over the place today. So American Made is great. Um, he also directed Chaos Walking, which was not so great. So I guess as a it's concerning because like I don't know how you would adapt an 1,100 page book into one movie. Again, maybe if you do it like a 3 hour, 3.5 hour epic, or maybe divide the movie into two parts. It's also concerning because Doug Liman's filmography as a director is a little bit hit and miss. Um, you know, so we'll see what happens with that. Um, we'll see what happens, and I fully intend on reading the book again before I see the film. So, jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about a feature film adaptation of The Stand. and Doug Liman directing. So this next bit of news is a little exciting. So, um, my wife Katie is a huge fan of um, the original, the animated Lilo and Stitch. Huge fan. I mean, she falls asleep to that movie. Like she knows that movie by heart, and I love that movie too. And so there was, of course, the live action remake has been out now for a while, and I've heard mixed things about it, but it's been dominating the box office. Um, I say I've heard mixed things about it because I have heard that there are things in this live action movie that they basically changed the message of the original movie. At least that's what my wife tells me. At least that's what Katie tells me. Is that they changed? She has heard. We have not seen it because it kind of, we have not seen it. But she has heard some things that they changed the message of the movie and things like that. So we're a little nervous about eventually watching it. However, Disney has officially confirmed that there will be a sequel to Lilo and Stitch. This article is on CBR, published by Monica Cohen. And about a little bit, about a third of the way down, the live-action remake of the 2002 animated film of the same name was a resounding success, with a different director, Dean Fleischer-Camp, but bringing back Chris Sanders to voice Stitch. The new version maintained the heart of the original and stole the hearts of audiences, which translated into many ticket sales. Per The Hollywood Reporter, Walt Disney Pictures has officially greenlit a Lilo and Stitch sequel. So yeah, the live action Lilo and Stitch is going to be getting a sequel. So this, honestly, in terms of, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. So this live action Lilo and Stitch movie has nearly made $1 billion at the box office. So with that in mind, it shouldn't come as a surprise that there's going to be a sequel. And I think, had it not been such a resounding success at the box office, maybe things would be different. Now, this is also good news for Disney because, as I talked about a number of weeks ago, part of the future of the Disney live-action remakes hinges a great deal on the success of this live-action Lilo and Stitch. And so it's great news that this Lilo and Stitch is doing very well. There's in terms of the sequel. Look, I know that there's straight to DVD sequels to Lilo and Stitch. It'll be interesting to see whether they go that route. Although if what I've heard is true and they've changed the message of the original movie, maybe they can't do. Maybe this live action Lilo and Stitch 2 will be different. Look, I mean, people love Lilo and Stitch, and I'm one of them. I'm nervous about seeing the live action one, but it's great news that it's going to get a sequel because obviously this being such a huge financial success. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about the live action Lilo and Stitch getting a sequel. Okay, this next bit of news I am ecstatic about. Absolutely ecstatic. So, a while back it was announced that Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, Amazon MGM Studios bought the rights to the James Bond franchise. Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson basically they handed over the rights to, not handed over, but sold the rights to the James Bond franchise. So this article does point out that, and this was back in February. Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli were pursuing a deal with Amazon that would allow the studio to control the creative on future productions. So now Amazon MGM has now full creative control of the James Bond franchise. So as a diehard James Bond fan, I have been cautiously optimistic about the future of the franchise. And now, because I don't want the franchise to be watered down. I don't want it to be diluted. Now, I will say that this piece of news that I'm going to talk about, at least this bit of news has me excited about the next James Bond movie. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Mia Gallupo and Boris Kitt. And this article says, Denis Villeneuve is going from Dune to 007. The filmmaker has been tapped to direct the next James Bond movie, the first from Amazon MGM Studios. This article does go on and gives a quote from Denis Villeneuve. Some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond films with my father ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery. I'm a diehard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come, said Villeneuve. This is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me and a huge honor. Okay. Let me just get this out of the way first. Denis Villeneuve directing a James Bond film. I am ecstatic about. Absolutely thrilled. If you look at Denis Villeneuve's filmography as a director, Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal, Sicario. There are a few movies of his that I have not seen, and I intend to rectify that situation immediately. I want to point this out. Um, there's that part in his quote when he says, "To me, 007." He says, "To me, he's sacred territory." That is similar to his comments when he took over when it was announced that he was going to direct Blade Runner 2049, which is bloody awesome. It's so good. I love that movie so much. So when he says that, to me, he's sacred territory, that is similar to comments he made when it was announced he was going to direct Blade Runner 2049. He said, he basically said that he's making Blade Runner 2049 so that no one else would fuck it up. And I'm like, great, awesome. That, to me, that statement sums up his passion about the project. I want to make sure hold on just a minute. So, yeah. Um, Denis Villeneuve took on the project, took on Blade Runner 2049 because he didn't want anyone else to fuck it up. That's a quote. And I so fucking passionately love Blade Runner 2049. It's so good. And then what he did with Dune. I can't even begin to tell you. First of all, Dune is first of all, Dune Part 1 and Part 2 to me is it's the I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. What he did with Dune, I personally thought was impossible. Because there was a previous film adaptation of the original novel that was directed by David Lynch. That was not so good. It was awful. It was, and if you have read Dune, it's similarly, it's comparable to Lord of the Rings in that you don't know how in the world he's gonna pull this off as a director. You don't know how in the world he's gonna be able to tell this story. And I still don't know how he did it, but he did it, and he did it expertly. The Dune Part 1 and Part 2, I absolutely would compare it to the film adaptations of Lord of the Rings. They're great. It is the most faithful adaptation of Frank Herbert's original novel that we will ever get. So, Denis Villeneuve directing a James Bond film, considering his recent filmography, this I haven't, the movie's not even out yet. The movie hasn't even been written yet. But Denis Villeneuve directing a James Bond movie, this automatically says to me, this could end up being one of the greatest James Bond films ever made, simply because he's directing it. I have no concerns about him directing a James Bond movie. My concern is when we're going to get it. And let me explain. So, Denis Villeneuve has several projects in development and or in pre-production. He's obviously his next movie will be the film adaptation of Dune Messiah, which I'm ecstatic about that as well. So it looks like that will be his next film. He's also going to be he's got a film adaptation of Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. He's doing a film adaptation of that book. That adaptation is in development. He's also going to be doing Cleopatra. So he's got several projects, including this next James Bond movie, in development and or in pre-production. So my concern is not at all that he's going to be directing. My concern is when we're going to get this movie because of Denis Villeneuve's schedule. Will certain projects be delayed so that he could do a Bond movie? Who's to say? I don't know. I don't think I highly doubt that Dune Messiah will get delayed. So my concern is basically, again, my concern is that is when we're going to get it, simply because of Denis Villeneuve's schedule. I think this James Bond movie, again, simply because he's directing it, I think it's going to be great. I'm ecstatic about it. And I mean, I cannot. I'm sorry. I can't even express how ecstatic I am about this. That's the word. Deliriously ecstatic. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about Denis Villeneuve directing a James Bond movie. What are your guys' thoughts about this? So this next bit of news has me breathing a sigh of relief. So, for those who don't know, all the way back in 2002, Warner Brothers acquired the rights to I'm trying to think of the Japanese film, the Japanese anime film Akira. Warner Brothers acquired the rights to Akira. And there was going, basically, Warner Brothers was going to make a live action version of Akira. And which I think Um, I think I speak for every diehard Akira fan when I say, hell no. Don't even touch it. I love Akira. Akira's awesome. And there's so many. It's certainly one of the most influential Japanese anime films ever. So again, 2002, Warner Brothers acquired the rights to Akira, and there literally have been, well, not literally, but there's basically been what they call a revolving door of writers and directors that have been attached to develop a live action version of Akira. Um, there was um, and then there was the most recent attempt at it, was going to Taika Waititi, who directed the two most recent Thor movies. Um, he was going to direct it, and I have to say, it was reported that Taika Waititi was going to create a version of the film that was loyal to the original manga and the anime. Previous iterations would have Americanized the story, which is sounds god awful. Like, don't even. I'm not even. I'm. No one's interested in that. Um. So Taika Waititi was going to create a version of the film that was loyal to the source material. So, but that fell apart. Um, so I personally, I personally find, I think the Akira anime film is not only one of the most influential animated anime films ever. It's certainly one of the best anime films ever. Now, um, so basically, this article is on MovieWeb. Um, this article is published on MovieWeb by Ernesto Valenzuela. Um, and um, basically, this article says that, according to the Hollywood Reporter, the rights to Akira have reverted back to its original publisher. Um, because there has been no movement on a live action movie, the rights have reverted back to the original owner. And I think I speak for every uh, Akira fan out there when I say thank God. Thank Odin, thank Odin that that a live action, at least a live action Americanized version of Akira isn't happening. Nobody wants to see this. Leave it alone. Um, I have the Akira Blu-ray. I love it dearly. Everyone loves it dearly. Stop it. Just don't touch it. And I if you're just yeah, um, maybe I don't think that anybody would be interested in seeing this. Just leave it alone. Don't touch it. Thank Odin that it went back to the rights holders. I'm extremely relieved about this, as I'm sure every Akira fan is. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that for a second. Um, and so yeah. So moving on here. Um, there. So this next bit of casting news is interesting. Um, there is going to be a. So in, for those who don't know, there was um, a 1987 movie called House of Games, um, which was uh, written by David Mamet. And it was also his directorial debut. Um, and so there's going to be a remake of that movie. Um, this article is on Deadline, published by Rosie Cordero. This article says Viola Davis and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II are set to star and produce in a reimagining of the 1987 MGM feature film House of Games, which is in development at Amazon MGM Studios. The actors will produce through their respective production banners, Davis for Juvie Productions alongside Julius Tennant and Melanie Clark, and Abdul-Mateen II for House 1110. David Mamet wrote the original feature, which also served as his directorial debut. It follows psychiatrist Margaret Ford, played by Lindsay Krause, who gets caught up in the world of gambling while trying to help one of her patients, Mike Mancuso, played by Joe Mantegna, deal with anxiety. While trying to help one of her patients, Mike Mancuso, deal with anxiety. Okay, so first of all, I have to say, remaking David Mamet is one of the industry's greatest writers. To me, everything he's written is like hallowed ground. I think this is going to be. I think there's a lot of pressure on this to get this right and to do it well. But I'm looking forward to it. I love Viola Davis. I've talked about this before. Viola Davis is one of my favorite actresses. I love her work, and oh my God, she's so good in the film adaptation of Fences that was directed and starring Denzel Washington. She's wonderful in that. I like Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. I think some of the material that he's been in has been questionable at times. I loved him in the Aquaman movies, more so the first one, and I haven't seen. He was in the Watchmen miniseries, which I have not seen yet. But I like him. I'm more so. So this has nothing to do. Look, this has nothing to do with the talent involved. I'm simply concerned. Like, if you're gonna remake something that was written by David Mamet, you better get it right. You better get it right. So that is my only concern. Let's see if so there's no director attached. Let me see here. Yeah, Yahya Abdul-Mateen the second. He was in the the Candyman movie that came out a few years back. Um, you know, which was bloody awesome. The movie's awesome. He was in that movie Ambulance that was directed by Michael Bay. Um, he was in Us, you know. Um, so he has been in several projects recently that have been quite good, and he's been quite good in them. So it doesn't say that there's a director attached, and I think that's going to be key as well. Getting the right director involved. Again, my concern does not lie with the talent; it lies with you better if you're going to remake something that was written by David Mamet, you better get it right. You better nail this thing because that's a lot of pressure. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this remake here. So this next bit of news is a little surprising. So I want to talk about this. I want to talk about something first, and then use that as a segue to talk about this bit of news. One of the filmmakers that I grew up loving was Tony Scott. I think his filmography towards the latter half of his career was kind of hit and miss. But I grew up watching Days of Thunder, Top Gun, Enemy of the State, which is great. Man on Fire is pretty good too. Man on Fire is pretty good. And of course, Crimson Tide. And then, what was the one? Unstoppable, with Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, about a runaway train. And that movie's awesome. That movie's great. And it ended up, unfortunately, being Tony Scott's final film as a director. And I have to say, he went out as a filmmaker. He went out in a blaze of glory, because that Unstoppable is awesome. And I was as a fan of him, as a film fan, I was very sad to hear about his suicide, about his death. He had a very distinct style, which if you watch his films, that he has a very distinct visual style, a very distinct style of directing, and it was very unfortunate to hear of his passing. And I personally think that one of his best films, and one of his better films, like I said, I think, and I say this respectfully, his filmography as a director was hit and miss over the years. But one of his better films and one of his best films was Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide is great. It's a little maybe in terms of accuracy, maybe the stuff in that movie would never happen, but I don't watch movies for historical accuracy. I watch them because they're movies and they're entertainment. And Crimson Tide is great. And Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman together, and that was, I think, in my opinion, one of Gene Hackman's better, one of the best films. Gene Hackman, I think, was he never, and reflecting on his recent death as well. Gene Hackman never gave a bad performance, never phoned it in. I think Crimson Tide is definitely a memorable. He gave an extremely memorable performance in Crimson Tide. And like I said, the movie's great. Now, I say all that because this bit of news is a little is surprising, I should say. This article is on Deadline, published by Anthony D'Alessandro. Jerry Bruckheimer, who was a producer on the original Crimson Tide and is one of the most I think the most successful film producer of all time. Jerry Bruckheimer says that a Crimson Tide sequel is in the works. Jerry Bruckheimer said in an interview with Rich Eisen, "We have a really good director-writer talking to the Navy right now about what's going on under the water. We have Denzel Washington. If we give him a good script, I think he'd do it." Okay. This is surprising. It's interesting. I think in terms of sequels, this is very unexpected. I have several thoughts about this, and not all of them are bad. I will say, okay, so when it was announced that there was going to be a sequel to Top Gun, which Tony Scott directed the original Top Gun. Obviously, and the sequel is obviously not directed by Tony Scott. I think there was, at least on my part, some trepidation about a sequel to a movie that was directed by a sequel to a movie where the original was directed by Tony Scott, but the sequel was not going to be, for obvious reasons. I think there was some trepidation at least on my part, about, how are you going to do a sequel to a Tony Scott movie and him not directing it? Like it better be good, like maybe you shouldn't touch it because he's gone now. He's dead. He's like, and especially regarding the circumstances of his death, maybe you shouldn't do a sequel to Top Gun. But they did, and it was awesome. Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to Top Gun, is awesome. So doing a sequel, so my initial trepidation about a sequel to a Tony Scott movie that didn't involve Tony Scott immediately went away after seeing, Top Gun Maverick is great. And I say that because Crimson Tide was directed by Tony Scott, and obviously a Crimson Tide sequel will not be directed by Tony Scott. But there's a history there of... I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's a history there of sequels to Tony Scott movies that aren't directed by Tony Scott, but they end up being great anyway. So this sequel to Crimson Tide could be great. Could follow in the footsteps of Top Gun Maverick. Denzel Washington being involved in this movie. I think that would really depend on the script and the director. Because Denzel Washington lately has given his opinion on, like, look, I've only got a few more films left in me, and I only want to work with the best. And I think, so in my opinion, a sequel to Crimson Tide will depend greatly on the script and the director. But I do think that Jerry Bruckheimer is right in if we give him a good script, I think he would do it. He may be absolutely right, but I think that will be the key, because Denzel Washington has said, I'm only going to work with the best because I've only got a few more left in me. So yeah, I think now it would be interesting. You could do now in terms of story, what this Crimson Tide sequel could be. I think you could do something in the vein of Top Gun Maverick, where you do this sequel to Crimson Tide. It's been so many years since the original. Where has the character Denzel Washington's character from the original film, where has his career gone since the original film? Is he in a similar position where that Gene Hackman's character was in the original film? That would be interesting to see. Maybe that's where his character is. Here's where I think this could be different from Top Gun, and I say this respectfully. I think the original Top Gun Maverick is. I think the original Top Gun is overrated. So in my mind, even though I was trepidatious about a sequel to Top Gun, in my mind, I always had the mentality of, well, it can only be better than the original, because I think the original was overrated. So a sequel, well, you can only go up. It can only be better. Crimson Tide is different because Crimson Tide is great. So if you're going to do a sequel, it better be at least as good as the original, because you better get it right, because Crimson Tide is awesome. So I have several thoughts about this. Obviously, I'm a little more trepidatious about this than I was with Top Gun, because and I keep comparing it to Top Gun simply because this will be another sequel to a Tony Scott movie that won't be directed by Tony Scott, and we'll also have Jerry Bruckheimer as a producer. That's the only way. That's why I'm comparing it. But I'm a little more trepidatious about it because the original Crimson Tide is great. So those are my thoughts on Crimson Tide getting a sequel. Jump in the comments section and let me know your thoughts about this. Like, what do you think about Crimson Tide getting a sequel? So, ladies and gentlemen, I have to go. I might do a follow-up video later on today because there are a couple more things that I'd like to talk about. I am going to go to the movies. I'm going to go see 28 Years Later, which I'm really looking forward to. I just watched the first two, and they're really, really good. So I'm going to go see 28 Years Later, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I have to go. Like I said, I might do a follow-up video later about a couple more things. So if you like this show, if you like I always say, if you like this show, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Jump in the comment section or send me an email about things you'd like to hear me talk about in terms of movies or franchises or topics or whatever. And until next time, I will see you at the movies.